In this part of preparing for production, I will basically walk you through 3 parts. The first part is how to stay organized throughout your component layout stages, how to communicate them efficiently and correctly with the factory as well. If you choose Hero Time, obviously we can always help you with building it, but theoretically you want to know how to communicate it best with the factories so it's as smooth and efficient as possible. The second part of this section, we will cover artwork. I will guide you through the 5 biggest issues that I find with creators on artwork, which delayed the project by a few months. And lastly, I will walk you through the difference between print on demand and mass production, so you know when to use each one. Let's go into the first part of how to build a quote. This can be very daunting to many creators because when they come around to making the board game or designing it, they feel like there's so many components to choose from. And even if you go on this more or less organized list, it can seem a little daunting and like, oh my God, there's so much stuff. But actually, when you dive deep into it, and I always tell this to the creator assistants that work in Hero Time, because sometimes they get quotes, it looks so massive, so scary. And I tell them, you don't look at it as piece-wise, you look at it as process-wise and how many processes you actually have in the quote. So I've put together this quote for you, just a sample quote anyone can download, and basically we'll see the printed components, whatever we make in our own factory and facility. We only have 6 in total. So we have like a box, we have cards, maybe you can have the poker size card, and then you can also have mini size cards, which are 2 different processes because they're 2 different sizes, but this is still more or less a printed component, right? You can have maybe 2 game boards, or you can have 8 player boards in your game, and that can look very, very scary, but essentially it's only the same component. The thing that this happens the most for us is in token sheets. Many people start listing this token sheet, this token sheet, this token sheet, or not even sheet, this token piece, this token piece, this token piece. I have 10 of this, 5 of this, 2 of the first player token, 5 of the standees. But from our perspective, we don't really care the breakdown of your pieces. But essentially, in the end of the day, all we want to know is how many sheets do we need to have and what is the size sheet that you want to make. Okay, so you can have over here, like we have 2 sheets in the pack. You can come over here and write, I need 10 sheets. Okay, and these sheets will be 20 on 27.5 centimeters. So if you want to work in millimeters, it's also okay. So you can think it looks like a lot, but when you look at the back end, it's actually a lot less. And you should also organize your standees in sheets as well, and it will help you. The next part after printed components is more the wood pieces. Wood pieces comes from the wood area, the factories that make all the wood, even wood pieces. You can have 5 red humanoids, 20 spaceships. Only if they are different sizes, I would maybe separate it. If both of them are like 16 millimeters on 10 millimeters on 6 millimeters, then obviously I will keep them together. If they are very different size-wise, I would say I will separate them into small wood pieces, large. You can do the more or less size, right? You don't have to have the exact sizes on them as much, but if it's like 30 on 16 on 6 millimeters, then okay, you want to have 5 and 20 spaceships. So that's how you want to organize your quote. We have the standard plastic pieces like the cubes, like the discs, some plastic pawns. We have the odd products, which are a separate sourcing department where sometimes like the neoprene mat, like bells, markers, sound modules, all these weird stuff that some games use, and we have miniatures. So when you organize everything in this way, your game will seem a lot less daunting, more easily understandable and feasible. Remember, we have the base game. This is your structure. Then you want to add stretch goals on top of it. You don't want to create a whole new quote just for the stretch goals. What you want to do is add these stretch goals on top of your existing quote. So for example, if for the box, I want to add a stretch goal, of like, if I reach 1,000 sets, I will add a stretch goal. So you would say, okay, I want to add a silver foil. And then the silver foil price will be put on top that box. If you want to add for the game board, game board, 2 sides, that's another stretch goal that is a possibility. So you say, okay, let's say the game board fits into the 4 openings. So we have the 42 and 56 centimeters. I personally like centimeters because they help me with shipping. You can do millimeters, it's all okay, but you want to do game board 2 sides. So 1,000 will be like 0.7, you have 0.5, 0.35, give or take. But this is how you structure your stretch goals. After you finish your stretch goals, you want to go into your expansion game. That is if you have an expansion game. You want to build your expansion game as well, what components you have in it, and then add-ons. Add-ons, don't forget, they are slightly different because each one of these is a different SKU. It's a standalone piece, but you can create here an endless list of add-ons, whatever it is you want, and simply you can generate the prices for them and keep everything in a very, very organized way. And from my experience, this is the best way to handle your quotation sheet throughout the 7-8 months. Don't create different versions, multiple quotes for the same product. Just keep it organized in this sense. If you want to add another organization, I also like to rank it by year, because many creators, they go through multiple years. So I would rank it 23, now we 2023, and January and 13. This way I know it will always pop up first, or the latest one will always be the first one or the last one, depending on the filter. But it will be sample quote, and that's how I would like to basically structure it. Some people structure it differently, but just keep it organized. Now we have an organized quote that we work according to, and it's time to start understanding artwork setup, because like I was saying before, artwork setup is the biggest reason for delays in any project. Okay, just setting it up properly for print, it can be a nightmare if it's not done properly. So let me show you what we do on our end to make sure that your artwork actually comes out beautiful. This is our artwork issue report. Whenever one of our creator assistants gets artwork files from a game creator, we go step by step to check that all his components are very good and suitable for print. And usually there are 5 issues that constantly show up in this way or another way throughout all the projects. Okay, so the first thing I told you, you want to keep your components as organized as possible, not according to your design capabilities, but according to what the factory actually needs. So token sheets should include all the token sheets. Cards should include all the cards. The biggest issue we have is component counts. Somebody says, I want 185 cards, but then he sends only 120 cards. What are we supposed to do? Are we printing 120 or printing 170? And forget it, you said 170 and you delivered 169. What do we do over there? Missing components is probably the #1 failure we have. Over here, I always recommend all the components, all your token sheets on one file. This way you open one file and you see everything. And make sure the file is clean and light so it doesn't take 2 days to open. Put all your cards on one sheet. If you have card counts right, okay, this is 2, 3, 4. This way you will be able to see all your cards in one Illustrator file or PS file, and this will help you tremendously with component count. The second issue we have is file setup. This is more for beginners. If you use a experienced artist, this file setup issues will not happen, but this is mostly the DPI, bleed, margin, it's not centered, the size of the file does not match the size of the quote, or it's totally off, this kind of stuff. All of these, their risk level is extremely high, so you want to make sure you don't have these mistakes. I will also upload this sheet for you so you can download it in the course, but over here you have links to all our videos explaining each part as well. The second part are colors. Colors, most of them are low, medium, and some high. Okay, over here we have also low. So colors, depending on you, how much you care about the colors. Do you want them to be vibrant and come alive? Do you want them to pop out of the shelf, or are you okay with your colors being old, looking like they've sat in the sun for 20-30 days, whatever you want. But it also depends a lot on your files. So if you, for example, use RGB instead of CMYK, we can fix it, but it will just look muddy, it will look dark. If your colors are too heavy in large areas, there will be color discrepancy between different parts. There are a bunch of stuff like this, ununified colors, which is horrible, and you want to use swatches, and then some rich black or gray in large areas and so forth. These are color issues. Another issue that we have is text. I will not go over it. And we also have file handling, which please make sure you handle your files well so we can go into the file and fix it as we want. For artwork issue, I spent a lot of time developing this series, and we have over here 22 videos that cover each one of the topics I mentioned. If there's something you do not know, go on YouTube, go to our Hero Time channel, and simply choose a video that you want to watch and learn. There's no harm in it. Even if you're super professional in artwork, printing is different. So just whatever you do not know, go in and learn. And this is the best tip I can give you regarding artwork setup. The next thing I want to cover over here is the difference between print on demand and mass production. If you're doing a Kickstarter, you need 10, 20 copies to send reviewers. In that case, you do indeed need print on demand. Print on demand uses machines that are suitable for very, very low quantity. For example, the HP printer. You can print 1 sheet, you can print 2 sheets, you can print 10 sheets. In mass production, we use a machine that is an offset machine. it prints 10,000 sheets an hour. Cutting machines are also different. Everything is different between sample making and a mass production. So if you are before your Kickstarter, you want to go to print on demand to get 10 copies, 20 copies for relatively cheap. If you want to make a sample of your game, you can go to your mass manufacturer and get those samples. Because there are a lot of people that do Kickstarter, what I'm trying to do with Hero Time is open another entity that will only do print on demand and adjust it to the sizes of mass production, basically. And this will help creators only set up their artwork once, only get their crowdfunding prototypes easily transition into mass production. This will come up around March or April once I'm done with it. But yeah, this is part of the vision to also offer print on demand for people's in need for the crowdfunding. And that can be very, very helpful for a lot of game creators because there is a dire need for print on demand.